Okay, is everyone able to hear me? Am I audible? Okay. Okay, yeah, as I mentioned, we'll discuss about constructors today. Yeah, thanks everyone. So we've started discussing about constructors a couple of days back. So we'll discuss in detail today. Okay, and we'll see some examples. So for objects to get initialized while they are getting created, right? It's a very common in Java. So object initialization is very common in Java. Okay, so that is why we use constructors. Okay, we use constructors to initialize objects. So Java allows objects to be initialized when they are created using constructors. Okay, to initialize an object while it is getting created, we use constructors. So when does this actually happens? When a new when we call new operator, when we use a new operator, it allocates memory and then it populates the or it changes the states of the instance variable or initializes the states of instance variable before the new operator completes. Okay, so once it is defined, once the constructor is defined, constructor is automatically called immediately after the object is created before the new operator completes. Okay, so as soon as in order to create an object, use new operator, right? And then constructor of a class. Constructor of a class. So when you call new operator, what it does? We know what it does, right? It allocates memory for the object, and then constructor is called, which initializes the object, and then a reference to that particular object is returned. Okay, a reference to that particular object is returned, which we will store it in a variable or a reference variable of the same class. Okay, whatever the class that we have defined here, whatever the class that we have defined. Okay, so what are these constructors? They are similar to methods. They are similar to methods. Okay, and they have same name as the class in which they are defined. Okay, they have the same name as class in which they are defined. Okay, so we have seen book class, right? So constructor of book is like this. Okay, so if you see, they have the same name as the class in which they are defined. Okay, so one important thing, they are similar to methods. You can see this parenthesis, right, in which you can pass parameters as well, as we have seen in yesterday's methods discussion, right? So they are similar to methods, but with one difference. Okay, so methods, they will have a return type. If they are not returning anything, they will return void, right? Methods will return void if they are not returning anything anything from them, right? So if they are returning, the return type should be mentioned. But here in constructors, we don't specify any return type. Okay, in fact, constructors will not have any return types because explicitly we won't specify that it returns anything, the constructor. Okay, implicitly what it returns? It returns a reference to the object itself, right? That is why we don't specify explicitly what exactly it returns. It is similar to the method. Say it has same name as the name of the class in which they are defined. So they don't have any return type, not even void. Implicitly they return the type of the class itself, right? Object of the same type. Okay, they are automatically called immediately after the object is created, that is memory is allocated, and initialized before the new operator is completed. Okay, before the new operator, we have to use new operator for creating an object, right? So before new operator completes, in the sense like before the new operator completes its operation, the constructor is called, and the object is initialized, and the reference is returned, and the same is stored in classes classes variable. Okay. So why exactly do we use the constructors? To initialize the internal state of an object. To initialize the internal state of an object. This is very important. Okay. To initialize an object. To initialize an object. Constructors are used to initialize an object. Okay. We will see how this is done. Okay. So few other important points to remember about constructors is Java. Yesterday, as we have seen yesterday, Java creates default constructors if we don't define anything. Okay, if a programmer doesn't define any constructors within the class, Java defines a default constructor. Okay, so as we have seen yesterday in yesterday's class, default constructors will not have any parameters. Okay, default constructors will not have any parameters. Okay, but once a constructor is defined, default constructor is no longer valid. Okay, once a constructor is defined, default constructor is no longer valid. We cannot use default constructors. We will see that part as well. Okay, so only when we don't define any constructors, default constructor is given to us by Java. But if we define even a single constructor, default constructor will no longer be valid, or we will not be able to use default constructor. Okay. Say for example, if you have a constructor, okay, we will see that one when we are programming. Okay, when we see some examples, we will see that one. Okay, so also as I mentioned, let us take book itself. Okay, as I mentioned, this here within the parentheses we can use parameters. Okay, we can use parameters. Parameters are, what are parameters? Parameters are simply like a type, combination of type and identifier, right? If we have multiple parameters, type and identifiers, each pair of type and identifier is separated by comma. That's it. Okay. So why do we use these parameters inside the constructor? Why do we use these parameters to insert? Why do we use the parameters within the constructor? To initialize an object. Okay, to initialize an object. Okay, let's see a few examples how we do that one, and then we'll move on. Okay. So yesterday when we were discussing about methods and other things, so we have seen like setters and getters, right? So setters are used for setting the internal state of instance variables of a class, and getters to get the current state of a class, current state of an object. Okay. So similarly, so here we have not defined any constructors, right? We have not defined any constructors. That is why Java gave us default constructor. Okay, Java gave us default constructor which we are using here. Okay, to create objects. So what is the state of object when the objects are created? What is the state of an object? That is the values of the instance variables. Values of instance variables. Let us try to print that. Okay. So we can see these statements, right? We can see these statements. The output, we can see the output. Okay. So whatever the objects, the internal state, like our what do you say? So let's come here. Here, integer is a primitive data type, right? And your string is object. Okay, we will see those things when we discuss about strings. Okay, as of now, we know what is a string. It's a data type, but these are all objects. Strings, a string, any variable of string is an object. Okay, but int is not a object; it's a primitive data type. Okay, so if you see, if you observe the output, first book name is null. Okay, null means nothing. Okay, so it will not have anything. Book name will not have anything. The default value for objects is null. Okay, if you don't initialize any value for a particular object, that value will be null. Int is not an object; it's a primitive data type, right? So Vichana is asking, int is not an object. What is it? It's a primitive data type, right? So as I was telling, like objects are initialized with null. Okay, a default value for objects inside a class, which wherever you define, right, that is null. Okay, then the primitive types. What are the primitive types that we have? Integers, floating points, Boolean. What else? So what are the other primitive data types we have? Let us try to define here. Okay, floating points, private float. Okay, my float, or let us take double only. Double price, book price. Okay, you can say private double book price. Okay, price of a book. And Boolean, let us make this also private. Boolean, okay, let us take the integer, double, and Boolean. Okay, Boolean is what we can give. Okay, is available, or is hard copy available, or we can have soft copy or hard copy, right? So I'm just telling, is hard copy available? If it is true, we'll say fine. Okay, so let us have so yesterday we saw this, right? Create getters and setters for available this one. Okay, for these two things we don't have getters and setters. Let us try to generate it. Okay, we have tried, and let us see here. Okay, so get price. Okay, is hard copy available? Dot get dot is hard copy available. Okay, so let us try to print the values. I don't want all these things. Let us not worry about all those things now. So run this. So we will see what is the book name. We have not initialized the book name to anything, right? So book name is null. Book name is string. That's why it's an object. So default value will be null. Book pages is integer. Okay. So the default value for int is is 0. Okay. Default value for double or float is 0.0. Okay. And default value for Boolean is false. Okay. For integers, default value will always be 0. Okay. That applies to your byte, float, byte, short, int and long. Okay. Int and long. Okay. So these are all the default values. So you need not have to kind of like assign anything to these values. Okay. You need not have to assign any values to these things. They will be assigned. If you don't assign any values to these things, default values will be assigned to those instance variables. Remember, these are we are discussing about only instance variables here. Okay, local variables, as we have seen, we can declare them, but you can use them only after assigning initial value to them, right? So we are discussing only about instance variables here. So default values are like this. For primitive types, the default value will be either false, 0.0, 0. For objects, it is always null. Okay, for any object, even if you create an object of book class, okay, even if you create an object of book class inside this, that will be null. Okay, it will be pointing to null. Okay, so similarly, even if you try to print the values for okay, let us try to print the values for book 1. What do you think the values of book 1 will be? What do you think the values of book 1 will be? Can anyone tell? Yeah, Hari is telling same as book. Yeah, correct, Hari. Default values. Because we have not initialized anything, right? So how we can initialize? We can initialize using, now we have made these things as private. So we cannot access these variables outside of this particular class. So how can we initialize them? We can initialize them using our, this one, setters and getters, right? We can initialize them using setters and getters. So is there a way? So if I ask all of you, is there a way like I get a default book? Okay, is there a way if I get to get a default book when I am creating an object? Is there a way to get a default book when we are creating an object? Yes, Kavita is telling by constructor. Okay, let us see. Let us observe all these things. So we have not defined any constructor, right? So we are able to use default constructor. Okay, this is very important. Remember these things. We are able to use default constructor. Let us try to create a constructor here. Okay, constructor name should be same as your class name. Okay, public constructor name should be book. Okay, this is user defined default constructor. Okay, still this is not showing any error because we still have default constructor, that is user defined. Okay, so let me say string book name int number of pages double price boolean is available. Okay, is boolean value available. Now I will tell book name is equal to book name. Okay, number of pages is equal to number of pages. Price is equal to price. is hard copy is equal to hard copy. Okay. Let us do this way. This dot, okay. This dot, this dot. Remember what exactly is happening. Okay. See, carefully observe what exactly is happening. So it easily identifies these things. Okay. When I press here, when I select this one, okay. So what I have done, I have created a constructor with all the instructor which initializes all the 4 instance variables. Okay, see what is happening here. So it is showing errors here, right? It is showing errors here because now default constructor is no longer valid. Okay. Yeah, Hugh is asking, don't we have to use this keyword here? Yeah, I have used it now. See here. Yeah, I think before when I didn't use, he asked that question again. Yeah. So now we will discuss about this in the next section. So now this we are not able to use default constructor here. It is showing error. Okay, because default as soon as a user defines a particular constructor, any constructor, he can define even a default constructor. Okay, if nothing is defined, default constructor is provided to us by Java. But as soon as you define a constructor, default constructor will no longer be valid. Okay, but we can make this like this, public book. Okay, and what we want to do, so let us copy these things. Okay, and let us try default book, default number of pages. Sorry, can't do this. Some 0. Let us make 1000 some value. Price is 2000 dot 00 is available to just some random values I have assigned. Okay, just some random values I have assigned. Yeah, Kavita is telling this off. Okay, we will discuss about those things, Kavita. Okay, we will not now, but we will discuss about this. She's talking about this. Okay, we will discuss about that. Okay, Kavita is telling about this. Okay, so we'll discuss about that. So now let us try to run this. Okay, initial values are these things, right? Initial values are these things. So now let us see what exactly happens. So many things are there. So we can see default book 1000 and other things it is displaying, right? We have uncommented this, that's what is showing that. Okay, so we can see these things, right? So default, whatever the values that we have specified in default constructor, which we have defined. Okay, this is not provided by the Java. This is not provided by Java. As soon as we define this constructor, default constructor will no longer be valid, right? Default constructor is constructor without any parameters. Here, this is user defined default constructor, not the Java provided default constructor. Okay, so whenever you use the Java provided default constructor, the values will follow like this, the rules. Like for objects will be null, primitive data types will be initialized to 0, 0.0 for double, 0 for any integers, and Boolean it will be false only. Okay, that is how it gets initialized. But let us try to use this particular constructor. What we have done, we have initial, we are passing the type and identifier, comma, type and identifier, comma, type and identifier, comma, type and identifier. Okay, so 4 parameters we are passing. Each parameter is separated by a single comma. Okay, type and identifier. This is the general rule. It's a type and identifier pair. Okay, so say for example you want some book which is initialized with some values. Okay, let us see this. Okay, let us take one more. Okay, let us create some book. First book is equal to new book of. So let us try to initialize these things. Okay, first book 100 100.00 and your true. Okay, this is how you create book with constructor having parameters, using constructor having parameters. In this case, which constructor will be called? Which constructor will be used for creating the object? Let us see. Okay, let us see what exactly happens. Let us try to run. Okay, the print statement within constructor is called. Yes, correct. Kavita is telling parameterized constructor will be called. Okay, now if I want to print, let us copy this particular part. For Boolean values, you observe here, for Boolean values, we will not have that get and set. Okay, it is a question whether is hard copy available or not. So that is why this is the convention that is used. Okay, is hard copy available? That is the question, right? Is hard copy available? That's a question. True or false? That will be the convention that is followed. For other variables, it will always be like get book name, set book name, get number of pages, set number of pages, get price, set price. And if you want to assign first book dot set hard copy, set will always be there. Okay, set hard copy available will be there, but for getting you use the convention is. Okay, for Boolean values. Okay, is hard copy available? Okay, so now we can, if we try to print whatever the values, like this is the so what exactly is happening? We are getting this first book with all the values initialized, which we can use as soon as the object is created. Okay, which we can use as soon as the object is created. That is why with our specification, how the object should be created. The ready-made object we are getting it. Okay, we are getting the ready-made object, so that as soon as the object is created, we are able to use it. With other things, in case of in other case like this one, say for example, we have this book name, right? This is null. Okay, when we try to print it, when we try to print it, it gave null. Okay, let us try to okay, I thought, I mean, anyway, null we are printing it. So that is what happens. When you pass parameters, the ready-made object will be given to you, and you can very well use it as soon as you want. Also, using setters, if you have setters, you can also use those things to change these values. Okay, so here the problem is how many number of, I mean, any number of okay, we don't have default values, right? Let us try to do this way. Then, okay, so in this case, if you create any number of books, the values will always remain these things, right? It won't change. So with parameters, we can pass any number of any parameters for each object. Say for example, so you are getting the picture, right? Okay, so we can create a second book with second book 200 and false. Okay, the second book does not have hard copy, it is only soft copy we have. Okay, second book. Okay. So again here what we need to observe is what we need to observe. Can anyone tell what we need to observe here? So instance variables for each and every object is different. Okay, so instance variables for each and every object is different. That is why when we assign these values will be assigned to instance variables of this particular object. These values will be assigned to instance variables of this particular object. So when we are trying to access the respective object's instance variables, corresponding values are getting printed here. So that we can see here, right? So important point is instance variables. Each and every instance variable will be having a separate copy, unique copy within individual objects of that particular class. Okay. So here we have 4 parameters. Is it mandatory to have all the 4 parameters? Is it mandatory to have all the 4 parameters? Not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. So we can have book. So we have 2 same things. Book name. Okay, we will assign this dot book name is equal to book name. So we'll see what is this. Okay, in next section. Okay, so another one. There is an important thing happening here. Okay, whatever I'm typing here, there is an important thing happening. So keep observe that one. Okay, pages. Okay. This one, and this one. Okay, the name of the constructor is same. Okay, the name of the constructor is same, but this one, number of parameters are changing. Okay, number of parameters are changing. So what are we doing here? We are using the same name. Okay, for the constructor, we are using the same name for the constructor, but with different parameters. Okay, this is called overloading. Okay, we will see all these concepts in later sessions. Okay, later classes. Okay, this is called overloading. Okay, there is one more concept called overriding. All those things you will see in later classes. Okay. So is it mandatory to have all these parameters? Not necessarily. So assume I have used this particular constructor to create an object. What will be the values of other three other three instance variables? Can anyone tell what will be the value of for this one? Say assume I will for Hari Krishna is telling it is default value. What is the default value? What is the default value? Shravanti is telling default values. Hugh is telling null. Book name is null. Okay, everyone is telling default values. Okay, so let us try to create an object with only one parameter and see what is the book. Third book is equal to new book of, I will use only one okay, exactly. Seems like everyone understood the concepts well. Exactly. See, so book name will not be null because we are passing the value to the book name. Okay, using one constructor, that is it takes string, right? So that is how it is. The default values will be, the values of third book will be like this. Hard copy is false, book pages is 0 and price is 0.0 and name is third book. Okay. So apart from operator loading, there is one more thing happening. Okay. So observe this. Observe these names. Okay. This is book name, number of pages, this is price, and is hard copy available. Okay. These are local variables. Okay. These are local variables. Okay. See the variable names with the instance variable names. They exactly match, right? Book name, number of pages, price, and hard copy. They exactly match, right? So what is happening here? If I try to it shows error. Are you seeing what is happening here? It shows error. Okay. We cannot define two identifiers having same name. Okay. Same name with same name, we cannot define two identifiers. Okay. But in case of constructors and also in case of methods, right, that is allowed. See here. So what exactly is happening? So I have defined these variables similar to these variables. These are instance variables, but these are local variables. The names are same and types are also same, right? So these local variables are confined within this particular scope. Okay, constructor scope, this particular constructor scope, right? And they are not available outside of this scope. Inside this particular scope, this local variable shadows instance variables. Local variables shadows instance variables. Okay, so or you can say hides whatever the value that you assign here, right? Whatever the values that are assigned before or while creating, or say assume that you have one more this one, one more object with the book name, number of pages, or price, or is hard copy available, or something like that. Okay, and if you want to access those values inside this constructor and with the same name, right? Those values will not be visible. I mean, these values will override those values. Okay. So that is why we call it as hiding. Local variables hide instance variable names. Okay. So let us see. Yeah, this is what I was discussing. This particular part, instance variable hiding. Okay. So local variables hide instance variables with the same name, having same names. Okay. So let us see what is this keyword. Okay. Let us see what is this keyword. So here, to make things clear, so I'll say one instance. Okay. Say for example, I am on call with someone. Okay. Someone will ask me to introduce myself. Okay. What I will say, they'll ask what is your name. Okay. I will not tell Vikram, just like that. I said, assume that I'll tell like this. This is Vikram. Okay. This is Vikram. So I will say this is, okay, this is Vikram. I will say this is Vikram. So here, this refers to whom? We can say just Vikram only. What is your name? Vikram. But I will say like this. This is Vikram. Okay, this always refers to when I am talking, when I am on call. Okay, and I will say this is Vikram. So I am the person who is talking, right? So this refers to me only. This refers to me only here, right? Similar to that one, this keyword is used. Okay, this keyword is used with respect to objects. This keyword is used with respect to objects. So what is this test? This keyword is used to refer to an object. This keyword is used to refer to an object within a method. This keyword is used to refer to an object within a method which invokes the method. This is very important, which invokes the method. Okay, so how can we invoke a method? How can we invoke a method? Using an object. Say for example, I have book, B is equal to new book. Okay, I have a method v dot get book name. How am I invoking this book get book name method on this particular object? This is what? This is the object. Okay, this is the object. B is the object of type book, and on this object I am calling get book name method. Okay, so according to this statement, this particular statement, what it says, this keyword always refer to an object within a method in which it is invoked. So assume that you have a method like get book name, and what I am doing here, return this dot book name. Okay, what am I doing here? I'm returning the book's name here, but I'm using this keyword. Okay, this is the object which is invoking this method, which has this definition. Okay, this method has this definition. So this when I'm invoking get book name method, here this refers to this object. Okay, the method. Okay, so in this method, the get book name, here I'm returning this dot book name. Okay, this dot book name. Here this refers to this object. Okay, on which I am invoking this method. Okay, let me try to explain with this one. So here I have used all these things, right? Here I have used this book name, number of pages. Okay, this book name, number of pages, that number of pages. Okay, this, this, this. Okay, whenever I'm using or calling, whenever I'm calling that method, right? Let us remove this. So whenever I'm calling the particular method here, okay, see this carefully. See this carefully. So here I am calling book dot get number of pages. Okay, so when I come to this method, when I come to this get number of pages method, or you can go from here to there directly. So here I'm using this keyword, right? This always refers to the object. This always refers to the object on which the method is called. Okay, here inside the method we have used this keyword, right? Always refers to my book. Okay, why that is important? This my book dot get number of pages will call this method within this object that exists within this object. Okay, similarly inside the method, this means it always refers to this. I assume like this one. Say I have defined book, right? This is one reference. This is another reference. Okay. So what is happening? Let us take to simplify this one. So what I want to tell here is, so assume that my book has so assume hypothetical. I mean, I'm just assuming. Okay. So the address is, say for example, 1 2 3 4. Address of my book. Okay, address of my book is 1 2 3 4. Assume. Okay, it's just to make things simpler I'm telling. Okay, so it has address 1 2 3 4 and my book 1 is 2 3 4 5. Okay, when I am invoking my book dot get book name, okay, this will have address of this. Okay, when I'm invoking get book name, my book's address will be the address of this. Are you all getting what I'm trying to explain here? Are you all trying to get whatever I am trying to explain here? Okay, or am I confusing you? Is it clear? Or am I confusing? Okay, so everyone says it is fine. Okay, okay, so everyone is understanding. So this within a method always refers to the object on which a particular method is called. Okay, next let's go to the second one. This keyword can be used in any method to refer to the current object. Current object is the method, or current object is nothing but the object which is invoking that particular method. Okay, this is always a reference to the object on which a method is invoked. So we are trying to tell the same thing in different ways. Okay, this can be used anywhere a reference of an object is used. Okay, it always refers to the current object on which a particular method is invoked, or an object which invokes a method. Within that method, if you have used this, that means this refers to that particular object. This always refers to an object on which that particular method is called. Okay, so instance variables we have already discussed. So let us see. So that's what I have for today's class. So let me know if you have any questions, we will discuss. Okay, let me know if you have any questions, we will discuss. And I wanted all of you to practice few of the things. I will try to come up with a few exercises. Okay, and I will send it across. So yeah, please let me know if you have any questions as of now with respect to classes and objects, methods, and constructors, and this keyword. Okay, there are other uses of this. As and when we move, we will discuss about, or in next sessions we will discuss the other uses of this and all. Okay, please let me know if you have any questions, otherwise we can conclude this session. Anyone has any questions? Anyone has any questions, doubts? Okay, thanks for confirming. Okay, thanks a lot everyone. Let us stop this session and have a great evening. Enjoy your evening. Bye.